Hello and welcome to the Hearts for a Fresh Start sewing tutorial. I want to begin by thanking everyone who is participating in Hearts for a Fresh Start campaign. Your participation will help make a difference in the community by providing hope and a fresh start to survivors of human trafficking. So let's begin. As you can see, the supplies that you will need and that have been provided are a hand sewing needle, thread, as well as one washcloth and 2 hearts per each washcloth. What we're going to start off by doing is threading our needle. So we will grab our needle and grab one end of our string. And what we'll do is you want to place the string through the eyelet of the needle and pull it all the way through. You want to pull it all the way through until the tails of your yarn meet. Once the 2 tails of your yarn meet, as you can see there, you are going to tie it into a knot right there at the bottom. I like to double knot it just so it has a little extra security and doesn't pop through your fabric. So you have it double knotted there. Once you have done that, you get to start sewing on the hearts to your washcloth. So this part's pretty easy. You get to figure out where you would like your hearts. You can have them right in the middle. You can have them in the corners. You can have them side by side. However you would like to place the hearts, go ahead and feel free to place them. This is kind of your personalized design detail. Once you figure out kind of the layout you want your hearts, we're going to start sewing. So our first step with learning how to do a running stitch is we're going to start from the back of the washcloth. That's the part that not everybody is going to see, and it's the part where the knot is going to secure our thread to our fabric. So we're going to start. I'm going to place my needle right through the center of the top of the heart, right where that dip is. So I go from the back of the washcloth up through the top. Then I pull it all the way through until that knot stops the yarn from going any further. The next step is, because my yarn is pulling from the face of the fabric, the front of the fabric, I am then going to poke my needle from the top of the fabric, the face of the fabric, down to the back. It's important that you make sure that whichever way your yarn is coming out from is the direction your needle goes into. If you keep sewing from back to back, it will actually cause your string to get tangled and caught from the sides of the fabric. So it's really important to pay attention where your string is pulling from. So now our string is pulling from the back. So I am going to poke my needle from the back to the top and going to make sure that I'm catching it on the other side. So you want to make sure that you have a good placement. And once you find a good placement for your needle, you're going to pull it all the way through. All right. And then once again, we're going to go from top through the back and then back through the top. And you are just going to keep repeating this until you sew all the way around the heart. So it's pretty simple. And take your time. You want to make sure that your stitch marks where you're threading is about 1/4 of an inch apart. You don't have to sew super close together. As you can see, my stitch lines are pretty spaced out, and that's okay, because even though my stitch lines are spaced apart, it's going to secure this heart onto this washcloth really well. So again, we're just gonna keep going around. A really good way to figure out if you're going 1/4 of an inch apart is to get your pinky and make sure. So the width of your pinky is about 1/4 of an inch, and so you can kind of use that as your measuring tool. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly 1/4 inch, but you kind of just want to use that as a reference. And all right, now that you've completed sewing around your heart, it's time to tie it off. So I have sewn through so that my yarn is pulling from the back of my fabric. So I'm going to flip this over. All right. Now, there are two easy ways to tie off your hand sewing. Pick whichever way is easiest for you, but I am going to show and demonstrate both so that you can choose which one you would prefer to go. The first one is the one that I normally do. And what I do is I pinch the fabric, and I will show you right there, just sort of at the top right there. And when I pinch the fabric, I am going to poke my needle through a little bit of that pinched fabric. You really don't want to grab the heart in this, and you don't want this stitch to be shown on the other side. It's what we call an invisible stitch, so it's really just grasping a little bit of the back bit of fabric. So then you are going to pull that through, and don't pull it all the way through. You want to make sure that you have a loop here. Once you have that loop, you are going to take your needle and thread it through the loop, pull it all the way through. And that's going to be the first way that you tie off your work. The second way, and honestly probably the easiest way, is to just cut your string and tie it off into a knot. So what you'll do is you'll separate your two threads like so, and just like tying a shoe or tying a knot with anything else, you are just going to loop it through, double knot it, and once you're done with your work, you're going to cut off all these extra threads. It's what we call quality control to make sure it has a nice clean finish. Once you've done that, you are finished with your first washcloth.